You'll watch the DanDaDan movie. You'll watch the DanDaDan movie. Did it work? Huh? Were you hypnotized? Did you see it? No? That's fine. I saw it. And that's what I'm here for today. I'm going to be talking about the DanDaDan movie that came out over the last week. I'm going to give you guys a review / first impression of this project that came out. But it's not really a movie. It's just a combination of the first few episodes that will be airing later on in October for the fall anime season. That's right. DanDaDan the anime is officially here. So G-Kids acquire the rights for the film, as it were, the company that does like the Ghibli Fest and all that you see every year. They somehow were like, hey, you know what, let's lock down this property before it gets big. So they have the exclusive rights to stream it in theaters a few weeks before it actually airs. So that's what this whole thing is. It's just like I mentioned, a combination of like the first few episodes of the season. It's kind of like Mugen Train or any other Demon Slayer movie, really. By the time you guys see this, it's probably not in theaters anymore. I know they added like an extra week, but from now, at least when you're watching it, I don't think it is anymore. You gotta wait a couple weeks to actually see it. But the cool thing about this screening is that you got like a 15-minute or so interview from the voice actors and the creator and director of the anime itself. And this was interesting because I've never seen that happen before when I go see a movie, like an anime movie. Usually it's just like, hey, we jump right into it after getting a couple previews. So a nice little touch they added to give you a little bit more content as opposed to just going for like 45 minutes for your night. Like, why would you want to waste the night going to the movies to see a few episodes, you know? So kind of add a little bit to it, a little extra layer, which is pretty cool. So if you've been subscribed for a while, if you haven't already, I guess you can go do that now. Wink, wink. There, I can't wink very well. Go subscribe. Anyway, I have talked about DanDaDan before. I read the manga. I think I started it last year, and I ended up just binging it, and now I'm caught up completely. But that was like one of the first times I've ever like gone out of my way to read a manga, because before that I was just an anime only watcher, and like I know, like, you know, it's easy to read the manga and get ahead or whatever. I was just so like anti that. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just watch when it comes on. But this time I couldn't, because I'd seen a few videos talking about how good it was and like seeing panels from it. Like, it's a weekly shonen, which is crazy, because if you see the artwork for it, it's just like out of this world. That's a funny pun if you watch the show. So yeah, I think I talked about like my thoughts on it as a whole, but also I gave kind of a recap of what the story is and what you're going to expect to see in the show when it finally airs. But why is this so big? How did it get so big? I don't really know. It just kind of happened. People like it gained the right kind of buzz. I think it's a mixture of like bigger shonen ending, and this one kind of filling the void. But yeah, it has a lot of hype behind it. I don't know why, but it does have the hype, and I think from seeing this movie, these episodes rather, the hype is going to be worth it, and this is going to explode past already what it is now. It's more so like a kind of a hearsay thing right now. Like, if you read the manga, you kind of tell everybody like, hey, this is what's coming up next. You're gonna love this. And people who do read it are like, oh damn, this is actually really good. So I will say it does live up to the hype that we've built up for the show. But a quick recap for those who haven't seen it or read it, it's going to be following two characters. We have Momo Ayase and we have Ken Takakura, aka Okurun. Okurun, typical nerd, keeps to himself, but he's really adamant and believes in UFOs and aliens and all of that. And Momo, which is the girl, she's more of like not a popular girl, but kind of like a cool girl. Everybody gets along with her. They know her. Like, oh, hey, that's Momo. She's cool. She's not like antisocial, but she's not like the most popular girl in school. She believes in spirits and yokais and stuff like that. And that is the inciting incident that leads these two together. Takakura, Okurun is like, hey, you know that aliens are real? And she's like, no, you're dumb. It's actually spirits and ghosts that are real. And they butt heads, and they take it upon themselves to challenge each other like, hey, all right, well, how about you go to this most haunted place ever, and you go over here to the most, what's the word for things that are like highly supernatural, I guess? No, that's not right. A lot of alien activity. You go here, and I'll go here tonight at midnight, and we will see who's wrong. So that's what they do. They go and they find out that actually both people are right. Both these things exist in this setting, this world of DanDaDan. Cryptids and yokais and aliens and weird things like that all around them. And then the bigger storyline is that Okurun actually gets his family jewels taken from him, and they get spread across Japan, and they have to locate them. And that is like their main goal for the first pretty much 180 80 chapters of the manga, so you'll see it in the show. It'll be a big thing, is that this man is trying to find his balls, all right? It's a hard world out here when you are ballless. But along the way, you're going to see all kinds of crazy ghosts and apparitions and aliens, and they're going to be fighting them constantly. So that's the whole premise, basically. Like, just imagine, I guess, like X-Files mixed in with like Mob Psycho a little bit, and mixed in with anything else that is like that world. Supernatural, I guess, does come into play a little bit in this if you are a Supernatural fan. So all of that stuff is what you'll be seeing in this show. And obviously I don't want to be too spoiler here for those who haven't seen it yet, but from here on out I will be spoiling what happens in these first couple episodes. So if you haven't read the manga yet and you want to go into the show blind, don't watch this unless you don't care and you want to just get more hype for it. Then come along. So the show itself, first of all, the opening, fantastic. I think it's already like going viral because it's the same people who did the Mashal opening, Creepy Peanuts. They have a distinct style that fits really well into this, and this theme song itself does capture what the show and the manga is all about. It's weird, it's eerie, it's uplifting, and then it's beautiful towards the end. And yeah, very fun opening, very great opening. And then the animation for it, it's Science Saru. They've done a few things. I think the only thing that I've seen that I can think of off the top of my head is the Scott Pilgrim series that came out, I think last year, the one on Netflix, the anime. That was really good. They do a good job of that. And then this itself, the show, they continue to impress me because they have so many different scenes in here that have like colors flashing before your eyes, and the animation gets sharp and crisp, and then it gets loose and fun, and it's just like captures exactly what the panels look like when you're reading it. And I think it's easier when you have something like that, like a really stiff outline, like, hey, follow this to a T basically and you'll nail it. Something like Demon Slayer left a lot of room for the animators at least to grow and like explore that world a little bit more, because it was so kind of ugly when you're reading it. You're like, this is cool, but like it could be better. DanDaDan, however, feels like they just took an anime and put it onto a manga. Like it was an anime first, and then they just like screenshot it and put it into manga form. That's how amazing the art is in this. What's his name? Yoshinobu? Tatsu. He's fantastic. Just all around. You're gonna love the animation in this, especially if you do love the manga itself. And then the voice actors that they've chosen, we got the dude who plays Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. He's voicing Okarun, which I think is perfect. The voice actor for Tanjiro is fantastic. I don't know about the English cast, but the Japanese one, at least, that's who is playing him. And then Momo, I'm not really familiar with her work. She did a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen yet, but she nails it completely. And then we got the granny, a fine-ass granny. She's fine. She hasn't really like impressed me yet. She'll be good, I think. From what we, further on in the story, we'll get more stuff for her to work with. So she's not like important, but the two main cast that we have nail it. And it was cool seeing the preview that played before the show, like I was saying earlier, how the voice actors were talking about their process in which they went for it. And the voice actress for Momo is so like quiet and reserved. She's like, oh well, I think Momo's a really great character. She's like the total opposite of me. She's very loud and opinionated, and like when she's doing Momo, she's like really like loud and like in your face and like what are you saying? Like she's kind of like those people who are like just loud in public, and you're like, oh damn, that person's really loud, but then you listen to them, they're like, oh, they're just passionate about what they're talking about. So it's kind of like, oh, get out of her way, or you're gonna get fucking ran over, basically. Kind of reminds me of the Nobara voice actress, how she's kind of like fierce, whatever. That's kind of like the same vibe you get from Momo, but she does retract it in certain points, but she needs to, and be like quiet and reserved like the actual voice actress herself is. And then Tanjiro's VA, I mean, it's pretty much just Tanjiro, except just like turned up to 11 on like his excitement level. Even like I mentioned, the voice actors were mentioning their process. He was saying how he views Okarun as like somebody who's quiet in public, but then when they get home, they're like loud and passionate and like obnoxious to like their parents. Like, "Hi mom, when's dinner ready?" And then when they're in public, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll take one slice of bread, please, thank you." So it was cool to see him like translate that to the voicing itself, because he's like that with Momo, which is cool, because in school he is very quiet and reserved, but as soon as he like befriends Momo, he shows like his other side of his personality, where he's just like loud and obnoxious, kind of like a little brother kind of is, but obviously not played like a little brother, because this is a romance show at the end of the day. And that was another fun thing, seeing the creator talk about how he's been trying to make some sort of something in this realm, and his editor, I believe, was like, hey, you should try mixing in some romance. like actually like read romance and like watch some romance anime and like get actual story beats from that and study it, so that way when you actually make this product, you can kind of be a little bit more well versed in it. Because if you just put like guy meets girl, whatever, it's not going to be as interesting. You need to capture like the build up and everything to it, and make it all worth it, the payoff worth it. And I think that's why this show is going to be loved, and also why the manga is so loved, because it does blur the lines between each genre of manga really well, like the romance aspects of it, the comedy aspects of it, and the battle aspect of it. It does really come together in like a really nice final product. So these first few episodes that I did see, or that they did show us, it covers like the first 4 chapters maybe of the manga. You get the introduction of them meeting, whatever, and then they go and they find Turbo Granny, and then Turbo Granny ends up possessing Okarun, and then her issuing the challenge like, hey, come meet me, come race me, and if you race me, then I'll uncurse your friend here. So the actual last episode ends with them going to meet Turbo Granny. Like, all right, let's go do it now, because if we wait too long, Okarun's gonna pretty much lose his body. So I did enjoy the starting and end point. It was kind of going long, and I was like, oh, how far are they gonna go? Like, this is pretty far for them to go, like in a movie, because like I wasn't completely sure exactly where it was gonna end. So seeing it happen, I was like, oh, okay, this is where it's gonna stop. Like they beat the big sumo guy. Okay, cool. Oh no, it's still going. Oh, this is where the grandma comes in and whoops Okarun's ass. Okay, cool. Oh no, it's still going. So I did think that we got quite a bit of story within that first few episodes, which I liked, and it's gonna get people that first 3 episode rule. It's gonna get them in. They're gonna get hooked right away, because it does hook you right away. It's just like so fun. Only weird thing was like, you know, if you read the manga, the first chapter or so when they meet the aliens, the Serpoians. I'm not sure how to say that. When I read it, I'm like, I can't read that completely. You know, the whole scene where she's like stripped basically, and she's like in her bra and panties. I was like, this is gonna be kind of weird, because in the manga when I was reading it, I was like, this is a long time for you to be still showing this girl like this. But then in the anime itself, it kind of like, it shows it, but it's not very long. It's like brief, and then they kind of like cut the camera to where it's kind of like showing like her shoulders up and like maybe like her legs down. It's not like completely focused on it as much as the manga was, which was, yeah, a little crazy. This was also an interesting experience for me, because like this was the first time that I've read the manga before watching an anime. So I've never had that, you know, experience of like seeing a panel and then seeing it on the show and be like, hey, I remember that this was this way in the manga, or like, hey, they skipped this part from the manga. They did it a little different here. So interesting seeing that, but they did pretty much follow beat for beat the manga itself. So I couldn't really have any big moments where I was like, hey, they cut this part out, or hey, they added that part in. But I don't really know if they're going to add more stuff later on in the further episodes, so it's hard to say if they are going to stray away from the source material like a lot or a little bit. But so far, it is pretty faithful to the manga itself. And yeah, it is very like loud and punchy and in your face. So if you don't like that type of anime, I feel like you might not like this, because it is going to be one of those kind of like a Soul Eater type show, where it's kind of like a lot's going on. And if you're not like a fan of that stuff, or like that goofy humor at points, then you're not going to really like gel with it very well. But there are moments of like peace and tranquility within the manga itself. So I feel like that those are going to be really earned once we get those in the show. Like, you're going to be like, oh, was a nice little break, even though the manga itself doesn't really have any like breaks. It kind of like, at least to where I read in the current chapters, hasn't had like a break. It's just been like constant like action, something happening. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 chapters where they're kind of like collecting themselves after a big fight or a big adventure, but then it just jumps right into the next adventure, which is pretty cool. I do like that Goonies, children, like Stranger Things type of thing, where it's like, oh, we always have an adventure to go on. We don't have very much downtime. Sure, we're kids and we want to be kids, but at the end of the day, like, wouldn't you rather just like be going on adventures with your friends? Wouldn't you want to do that instead of just chilling at home on your computer? No, you want to go and experience the world. So it's going to do this very well for those who are into like those types of shows, like the adventure of it. And I can't wait to see all the other characters get introduced in this season. They are in the opening, so I do know we're going to get like most of the main cast. The second cast that's coming up, my favorite character currently, Zuma, he won't be until like probably season 4 or whatever. But that's my goat. I love that man. But for the first main cast, Gigi, my favorite. So I can't wait to see Gigi come on screen and you know, steal the thunder a little bit. And the plushies, oh my god, everyone's gonna want to buy the fucking Turbo Granny cat. They're already marketing it like she's part of the ending theme. Like, that's just her just walking along as a cat. It's gonna be so much merch, so many cosplays. I can't wait to see them. They're gonna be pretty cool. So yeah, I'm proud to report that this first few episodes have lived up to my hype. It's gonna be a fun ride for those experiencing it for the first time, and it is gonna get super huge and big. Although, I mean, they did say that about Chainsaw Man, and that kind of like teetered on being huge and not too big. But I think that this is gonna do pretty well. I think Science Saru is handling it very well, and they understand the product. At least the director does. At least he understands like where he wants the story to go and how he wants it to be told. And I think it's gonna be just like fantastic. All right, so those are my thoughts and my analysis of this DanDaDan First Encounter movie. Hopefully you guys like this review. Hopefully I've interested you into, you know, getting into the show if you haven't already got into the manga itself. Hopefully I'm one of the ones to like push you in the direction of like, hey, go watch this, add this to your watch list for fall. And you know, hopefully you guys enjoy my review. And if you have seen the movie, comment down below what you thought of it. Did you hate it? Did you love it? Did it live up to your expectations? Did it miss completely? Whatever you want to say, let me know down below. And as always, guys, go ahead and follow and subscribe. All that stuff's gonna be in the, you know, the description box below for you. And thank you for watching. And until next time, go see what's out there.